Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have Gregg Florentin with me here today. Gregg has over 30 years experience in healthcare as a seasoned executive covering over 60 specialties. Wow, that's a lot of specialties in the industry, and over a dozen industry awards and experience in mergers, acquisitions, joint ventures, and hospital expansions. He's currently the CEO of Tri-City Cardiology here in the Valley. Welcome to the show, Gregg.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
All right. First thing I want to ask, explain to the listeners and everybody, what are the three cities Tri-City is referring to in the Valley?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We're definitely not a Tri-City anymore, but that was covering the Gilbert, Mesa, and the Chandler area.
Okay. I live up in the opposite side of the Valley, and I had Tri-City Appliance here this week working on a Sub-Zero fridge. So, I asked him, and he goes, "I don't know, dude."
Yeah, we've definitely grown, and that's why we kind of laugh. It's like we may have to change our name. We're just not three cities anymore. We're expanding all over the place.
Right. Okay. Well, talk about that. How big is Tri-City Cardiology? Tell us about how that's going.
Yeah. We have 28 physicians, and then on top of that, we've got mid-levels, which are the physician assistants and nurse practitioners. So we're up there around 45 total providers. We're in 11 locations. We're also expanding in a couple of areas. We have electrophysiologists, we have general cardiology, we have vascular, vein, intervention. We also own our own ASC, so we do procedures there. Oh, wow. And right now we're breaking ground on a 12-acre lot over in Santan. Where we are going to have 100,000 square feet with 5 different buildings, where we're going to have an ASC multidisciplinary. We're going to have a lab, pharmacy, urgent care, stat cardiology, and we're working with a whole bunch of other subspecialties and a healthcare system right now who are going to take up some space there. So that's going to be exciting for us with our expansion and our services throughout the state.
Yeah. Tri-City Cardiology Campus.
Exactly. It's called Terraza Medical Village. So it's very that
sounds Italian.
Very welcoming. We've got some trails, we've got some meditation gardens there. It's gonna be very unique.
Wow. Very cool. Okay. If you don't mind, I'd like to know a little bit more about that specialty in terms of group sizes and stuff, because some like OBGYNs, right? They I never see really big groups of them. They always seem to be small ones. I don't know if it's personalities or what, where they share call, but they never really seem to grow into bigger groups. They always seem to join up and then fraction off again. I never see them over like 20 physicians in a group sort of thing.
Yeah, whereas, not for OBGYN, yeah.
Yeah, for my wife's an anesthesiologist, and she has hundreds in Valley Anesthesiology Consultants Group here in the Valley. They're the biggest one in the Valley. They have divisions throughout the Valley.
Right.
Can you just speak to cardiology a little bit? I'm curious.
Yeah, about the same thing. Cardiology is a very unique service line. Before, it's been kind of tucked away back. Everyone has their heart issues, but as of late, they have been a very well-drawn, looked at specialty. There are opportunities that are now coming into the ASC. There are things that used to be done in the hospitals, cardiomems, ablations. Those things were very unique in the hospital arena. Now, the government, the CMS, is now allowing those procedures to be done in an ASC environment, which is usually a little bit more cleaner, a little bit more intimate, I guess, so to speak, where you're getting the patients feel like they don't have to walk into a hospital environment, and that can be stressful for some, but in an ASC environment, it kind of feels more of a luxury. Right. And so with the expanding of services and unique procedures, they are being more attractive and growing. I mean, everyone needs their heart taken care of. It's something that's going to happen. So it's like a funeral home, right? Everyone's going to die. So there's going to be a funeral home. With cardiology, everyone has a heart. So something's going to happen to them as they age. So,
Okay.
with hypertension, blood pressure, you name it, you're going to see a cardiologist. And the specialty is big. A lot of the hospitals know that these changes are coming, and so they're wanting to collaborate or have exclusive agreements with cardiology groups within the Valley.
Okay. So basically, traditionally, there were cardiologists who were kind of lone wolves. They had their own little practice, and they'd have a contract with the hospital. Is that
Yep.
the
Yep.
scenario?
Or the hospitals would hire them. When I was
Okay.
working with Providence in Oregon, we would hire a few for our hospital to do the in-house procedures. And then we also had outpatients. So those are the things that could be done in an ASC environment. So the hospitals like to hire their own, but for community need, you can't just have onesie twosies. You're going to have a larger group. So the hospital systems, they like to have some form of collaboration or partnership with the cardiology groups within the Valley.
Okay. Okay. And has that been like a growing trend over since COVID, pre-COVID? Can you speak to
Yeah, prior
the
to
timeline?
COVID, there weren't very many procedures that were going to be coming out to the ASCs.
Okay.
So for cardiology, the ambulatory surgery centers are new. This is something that hasn't been a standalone for the longest time. Most of the procedures were being done in a hospital. Since the COVID, it's definitely escalated due to the fact that during COVID, people needed to get their procedures done. They couldn't go into the hospital, so the ASCs were taking a lot of those patients coming into their facility, and obviously
Right.
the outcomes were pretty positive. So CMS just said, well, let's just kind of keep the ball rolling a little bit. I know the
Okay.
hospital systems were trying to keep that from happening because of the fact that cardiology is a procedure surgical specialty. So they definitely wanted those care and treatments in the hospital. And since COVID, a lot of these procedures are now going out to the ASC, and the hospital systems are starting to see more procedures that are going to start coming out to the ASC. So their goal and strategy right now is to collaborate or hire their own cardiology group.
Okay. Okay. So there's I guess some level of competition in a sense of
Oh,
who's going to
absolutely.
provide this service. What are the challenges in standing apart from the hospital for Tri-City?
Um, every hospital system has their unique characteristics. Some are very collaborative, others are very possessive. But for Tri-City, if we don't have a hospital, that makes it difficult for the fact that when our physicians are on call, they
Hmm.
round. And so a lot of these patients do not have cardiologists, right? These are onsets. All of a sudden, someone's got heart palpitations, they go to ER, they have to stay overnight. And then you've got our physicians and other practices do the same thing when they're on call with those hospitals. They're going to round, they're going to see these patients, they're going to look at their notes. And then they're going to advise them that they need to come see Tri-City or see that physician who did the rounding, but they need to get a referral from their primary care. And then next thing you know, that patient is able to get in same day. We offer that here at Tri-City. It's very unique. We're the same day appointments that they can get in as a new patient. And so that's where our business is drawn a lot from the hospitals doing rounding while on call. And then the others are based off of primary care and their referrals. So we have to have a good relationship with the primary care.
Okay. Okay. And is that's going to continue in that way? I mean, are some of the what's CMS, by the way?
That is the Center for Medicare, Medicaid Services.
Okay, so they're dictating a lot of the industry practices just on their reimbursement
Absolutely. Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
but so COVID allowed, so I thought there was some other sort of governing body that was allowing these sort of off-site procedures because of COVID. And then once they realized they were safe, then they're making the judgment themselves, CMS is on
Yeah, that's Medicare. Everyone's got the Medicare for the older population. So they're the ones who allow certain procedures to happen in the hospital or out in the ASC environment. For private insurance like the Uniteds, Blue Cross, Blue Shields, some procedures need to be done in a hospital because of the risks or the high level issue with that procedure that might cause some issues, and you want to be close to obviously a
Okay,
hospital where
interesting.
you can get better
Okay.
treatment. But in the
I would
ASC environment, those are the things that really aren't high risk.
right.
So those private insurance and and Medicare, they're going to want to be done at the ASC because it's going to be less expensive.
Okay, well, it makes sense that insurance or the payer coverage would have opinions based off of value, right, and how much they had to pay. But in terms of safety, I would have thought there would have been a different governing board, not the
No.
people paying for it, that would dictate
No.
what you can do. Oh yeah, you can do your OB practice in a Wendy's. That's fine. You know that if insurance is okay with it, it saves money. Absolutely. You know, I thought like maybe the board
you could you could do what we call a doc in a box, where you could, work anywhere and
Right.
set up a shingle for healthcare.
Huh. Okay. I didn't realize that that location of the practice and stuff was dictated as much by insurance and CMS.
Yeah, it's not really like dictated on, well, you have to practice in this community. It's basically dictated on where you practice as a whole, what the characteristics or what the demographics are. So for example, for Pinal County, that is a high population of individuals that are outside of the city. So they consider that a at-need area. Okay. So if you practice there, your insurance from Medicare is going to be higher in reimbursement than it would be in a city that is like Mesa, Phoenix, Chandler.
Okay. And also in terms of safety, I guess, if there's like a surgery center somewhere doing something and something bad happens, they have to get an ambulance and to come from the surgery center and take the patient to a hospital or a proper care center to deal with them. I've seen that happen before, and I can imagine the insurance wanting to have some input on what procedures are done at such sites.
Yeah, well, even some of the basic procedures, they can have complications, right?
Sure.
Elevated stress, blood pressure can put someone into a cardiac arrest. Most of the ASCs are close to a hospital for that reason. But, the physicians are going to look at these patients. They're going to look at a lot of their demographics. They're going to look at their history. They're going to look at everything about them to make sure, is it safe for them to bring those procedures into the ASC environment, or is it safer and better for that patient to be in the hospital? And so you have to get a prior auth from the insurance companies to make sure that it's okay to do it in one location or the other. And so that's how it kind of moves for healthcare.
Okay. So back to sort of growing different practices, right? And I have a lot of my friends and are physicians. Some of them are very entrepreneurial. Some of them are not. They don't want to be, and there are some who want to be who shouldn't be because they have no training in it and they don't understand, right? So what's your experience with that, with the different groups and trying to coordinate and grow the group and bring on physicians, and how active are they in running different parts of the company?
Yeah. So are you talking about specifically with cardiology or us interacting with other specialties in primary care?
Oh, that's both interesting. I was just thinking within cardiology though.
Okay. Well, with cardiology, with our large practice, we are what we call an IPA, which is an independent physician association. So every physician within our group is under an umbrella of Tri-City. So they operate autonomously, but every single one of them shares overhead expenses.
Okay.
So it's kind of like having their own practice within the community, but they're sharing the overhead, which would be my salary, my team's salary, the staff, the owning the buildings for real estate, owning the ASC, owning furniture, you name it. So they're all separate in their own entity, but collaboratively they share in the overhead. So those are what we consider partners. And then you got the employed physicians who are exactly what they are. They don't have any partnership. The partners pay for their salary, and those physicians earn enough to cover their own salary. And then anything after they earn in bonus, and whatever's left over then gets divided evenly with the partners, which usually goes right back into the organization for paying the overhead.
Right. So is that a common model for groups of that size?
It is. There's also obviously the medical group model where everyone is, pretty much under one umbrella. They all have their certain ways they have to operate. Those are few and far between. But the IPA is more of the common one because of the autonomous way of being able to practice within the group.
Okay. But you've worked with 60 different specialties.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Can you talk about the challenges of the most challenging and the least challenging, maybe, or something?
Yeah, gosh, when it comes to every specialty, they almost have the same, critical issues that are facing just healthcare alone. And so a lot of those are costs are getting too high, access to the services that with the shrinking physician workforce, we're not getting as many physicians as we used to when I was younger. You got the government regulations and insurances, staff shortages. My gosh, before COVID, it was easy to hire people. After COVID, it is very difficult. The new generation feels like they don't want to work as hard as what I'm used to seeing. Right. And so that has been a challenge. A lot of people are going into careers that are not in healthcare. It's more of the AI and gaming and things that seem to be a little bit more exciting for the younger generation. And dealing with the post-COVID generation has been something that's
a heart attack is pretty exciting, though.
Is it really? Doing chest compressions on people who are having a problem is not exciting sometimes.
Okay, sorry. So you mentioned AI, and so can you talk a little bit about how technological changes are affecting the industry and your practice or the group?
Yeah. So AI is very new. I saw a statistic that 60% of the country is not using AI, and 20% are starting to use it, and 10% already using it. And we're under that 10%. I'm a very innovative leader. I'm into predictive analytics, AI. My background is with Lean Six Sigma in healthcare. So with their change is always happening, and my goal is to implement measures to control efficiency within the practice. And with AI lately, the future of AI in healthcare is incredibly promising. It is expected to bring, I would say, a huge, significant amount of advancements in various aspects of patient care and health management. We're using AI right now with a company called Basada, and they are starting to utilize ways to diagnose diseases in the future more accurately, quickly analyze medical images, lab results, patient histories. And they're helping with screening calls in our call center. That's one of the largest turnovers we have. And AI, to me, to some people, they feel like it's going to replace them, that they'll be fired or termed because of the AI. It's very much like the old days when Lean came out and it was creating efficiencies and people were losing their jobs over it. Me, for AI, I look at it as a position that someone leaves and is difficult to replace. AI is going to fill that in. That's what I want with AI. And what I want with the institutional part of it, I don't want AI doing what I call productive. That's talking with the patients, working with the patients, things that take intuition. AI does not have intuition. So the physicians are not going to be replaced because the intuition from a physician in training is going to make the decisions. Now, AI in the future will be able to take millions upon millions of data, very much like ChatGPT, take a person's age, weight, height, demographics, culture, you name it, look at the symptoms, and it'll take from every history of every patient and pretty much give you probably 3 different diagnoses that you need to choose from, right? Because it's an algorithm, it's machine learning. It takes all the data, takes an average, and comes up with an answer. And that's the intuition part. AI is not going to go, you need to do this. Will it do it in 100 years from now? Probably, very much like a Star Trek or Star Wars type thing, and being able to diagnose right away. But going back to the call center, it's very difficult when someone leaves for the day. We get thousands upon thousands of calls a month. And when we have people leaving, we train them. They gotta learn the methods. They gotta learn 28 physician models and what they're looking for on different age and demographics. It's very challenging. And so when they leave, I want the AI to be able to help schedule the patients, get them in the direction of talking to someone, and perhaps
Okay.
even calling to do follow-ups on when patients' appointments are. AI has that capability, and that's what we're doing. I want them to be able to work on the non-productive side of healthcare, things that are repetitive, right?
Sure.
Filing papers, stacking papers. AI can do that through a computer, and then be able to have the physician ask the AI, pull up the last echo from, Mrs. Johnson, pull up the medications that are corresponding to their care. That's what AI is going to be able to do. It's going to pull things up instantaneously instead of having people search and dig and be able to do all that stuff. And it's going to transform healthcare by making it more proactive, personalized, and efficient.
Okay. I've had a neuroradiologist on the show who, Alan Pitt, who he's using technology more for like telehealth and other stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I had James Bates on. He's using AI for a lot of what you were talking about, right? Note taking, files, EMRs. I don't remember. What are the big electronic medical record companies?
Epic is one of the biggest ones out there.
Okay, Epic. Is there something with an A? Athena?
There's Athena. That's another one. Yeah.
Okay, maybe he's working with that one mostly right now.
Next
I can't
Gen.
remember.
There's quite a few.
But they are probably all have their own internal stuff they're working on, trying to clean this stuff up and make it easier and quicker.
They're starting to see AI. Yeah, they are. Basada, the company I was talking about,
Okay.
they're collaborating with Next Gen because Next Gen has seen, we use Next Gen, and so they have seen what Basada has been doing with our systems, and so they need to be integrated, right? Anyone has to integrate with the EMR, and so Next Gen saw what they're doing, and now they're trying to work with them to build a platform around the AI technology component to make things a little bit easier for practices.
Yeah, I mean, well, again, back to the neuroradiologist was talking about how AI is really good at scanning some things, right? But you still need to oversee it and stuff. It can catch things that they miss and stuff, he said. But the context and all those other nuances you were talking about. But the getting all the notes and collecting everything, right? And having that, I don't know, there's some clinics are using what's Microsoft's Autopilot or Copilot, I think it is.
Copilot, yeah. We're using ChatGPT for a lot of our stuff, and that's going to be kind of the new thing eventually. I mean, ChatGPT, you can ask it any questions and it'll give you an answer. And where does it pull it from? It pulls it from the web, which has billions upon billions of data. Right. So that's where we're headed, and it's going to make
all
sense.
Of it's true.
Yeah. I worry about that sometimes, but
that's another challenge.
Anyone can manipulate that. But back to the EMR, if everyone had the exact same EMR, I read a statistic that we would probably be 10 to 15 years ahead of how we'd be treating healthcare, because of the fact that one person leaves a private practice, goes to another that's using a different medical record, and the doctors just have to order it. They just can't look up every patient, and that's difficult. Right. And that's what delays patients being able to be seen at a timely manner. If the government was able to do anything, they should have just mandated one standard EMR that everyone uses, because then everyone would be able to share information a lot faster, and patients would be able to be seen a lot quicker and efficient.
Better patient care. Bottom line. Yeah. Last I heard, regarding technology and medical records, I always was told for the past 10 years that blockchain was going to revolutionize medical records, and instead it's been all about crypto. But do you have any insight into the nature of why medical records can't be private and yet readily accessible to everybody?
Yeah, well, you've got the entrepreneurial side of it, right?
There's all these big companies you said that kind of have their market share already.
Yep, they have their market share, and you got lobbyists and things like that. They won't go private because of the fact that CMS, which I mentioned earlier, they have that control of the medical records. Not to per se that they're responsible, or they take a look into every EMR system. It's just that they
Right.
won't go private because it needs to be transparent. Patients need to be able to have access. Other physicians need to, pull data from there. That's why patients have to go back to their primary care or their specialist to say, hey, I'm transferring my records over. That's the part that bugs me. That's not very transparent. I don't think that,
Right.
doesn't really help. It's uncertainty that creates anxiety and muddled thinking, I believe.
And
with,
delays
patients.
and
Yeah.
a lot of expensive middlemen too.
If I had a magic wand, I would just say, all right, all medical records, you guys all need to get together, pull the best out of what's working with you guys, and then make the perfect EMR.
Okay.
Because there isn't.
Okay.
Every EMR that
Right.
I've worked with, and I've worked with probably about 12 different, they all have problems. Every physician, every mid-level, all complain that it can't do A, B, or C. Nurses have a hard time. Medical assistants have a hard time. And that's why if AI, or I know this company, Posada, they're trying to create their own medical records where they can come out and ask every single practice and specialty, what do you want? And then create that platform.
Right.
The problem I see, and I think a lot of people would agree to this, is you got to get so many calls from vendors wanting to share what they can bring to our organization. They come in, I love everything up to about 80%, but then there's 20% that I'm like, gosh, I really wish you guys could do that. But that's what most companies are. They're about 80%, maybe 90%.
Okay.
And I'm spending about $20,000 a month for 80-90% product. I would pay $30,000 a month if I had 100% of what I want.
Right.
And I think that's what everyone is looking for. And
Okay.
with Posada, I know they're the ones that go around to different specialties asking what they do, and they're creating a different platform. They're wonderful. It's something that we've been excited about. They came in and asked us what we want with our AI, what do we want with our medical records, and I think that's why NextGen's working with them, because they see that there is a potential to be very specific to every specialty, not just here's the model, take what you need. If you can't do the rest, then oh well.
Right. Because in this day and age, you need a holistic approach. There's lots of different people don't have just one problem.
No, we all have different things and we all have different desires that we're looking for, but we just can't get the 100% model that we're looking for EMR. And that comes back to the patients.
Right. They can't be responsible. So many of the patients I know they don't even know that they had a heart attack half the time. They're like, oh no, they said it was just a little something. Or you have a pacemaker? What kind? I don't know. When did you get it? I don't remember. Oh, really?
I see the future of healthcare is going to be able to not have to come into the practice for certain things. If you're just doing a quick checkup, you're going to be able to do things probably through your phone. You're going to be able to do things through a scale. You're going to be able to just kind of, at lunch for 10 minutes, do a finger prick and send that to, that blood to the lab. You're going to be able to put a blood pressure monitor on you. All this stuff's going to be available, where it's going to be absolutely great, right? Because now you're not getting in a car, you're not driving, you're taking time away from work. You're now being unproductive because you are having to see a physician, when instead, if it's something really quick, and that's the problem, people can't get in because they can't leave for 2 hours or they can't leave for an hour. And so it's difficult, when it's going to be great to be able to just go at lunch, go in your car or go to the bathroom or go into a room privately and do the basic stuff for screening blood work, urinalysis, blood pressure, you name it.
Okay. So
we get a lot more people. We'll get a lot more people to be able to prevent any problems in the future.
Yes. More accessible care will definitely have better outcomes. So Gregg, as we wrap things up here, can you talk about what the biggest goals are for you and or your role at Tri-City for maybe the coming couple of years?
Yeah, we've got a lot of things that are happening for us. We're going to be expanding our services throughout the state of Arizona. It may overlap into beyond the state borders, but right now our goal is to collaborate with many different specialties and hospital systems to provide pretty much a one-stop service model that's going to be geared toward women's health and men's health. And, what I'd like to see is a super group, that's what I call it, where a lot of the primary care and the subspecialties fall under the Tri-City umbrella, but they can still operate autonomously and even with their name. But we're doing is just collaborating, which will streamline patients to be able to be seen amongst all the specialties, primary care, and us without having to go through all the hoops and bureaucracy that comes with healthcare.
Sounds like making your affiliate relationships a little more permanent.
Yes.
Streamlined, easier to do. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Nice. And do you have any initiatives or any plans for the rest of 2025 for the company?
Yeah, well, the rest of 2025, we have a new medical office building being built next to our ASC. That's going to be almost 30,000 square feet. And, then we are going to be building a 12-acre, 100,000 square foot space over in Santan. And that will be 5 different buildings, which will have an ASC, lab, pharmacy, cafe, other subspecialties, primary care, you name it. So that's the start of my one-stop shop super groups that we're collaborating and formulating. Yep.
That was awesome. And what's sort of the time frame for that? How long has that been to design and get that going? And then how long is it going to be to complete?
Yeah, we're starting on 2 buildings now, which one will be ours and another for other specialties in primary care. So those will be done by near the end of 26, and then 27 we'll finish the rest of the buildings in the space.
Okay. Excellent. Exciting stuff.
Oh yeah, it's exciting for us. We're really excited, especially with our growth and initiatives, and our staff are really happy about what we're doing, and they're excited about their roles involved with this growth.
Excellent. It's culture is important. You want to keep everybody on the same page and eager for the future.
Absolutely. Our goal is to maintain and retain competent employees. That's for sure.
Okay. So reflection question for you, Gregg. What do you wish you knew sooner about building wealth and success in your career?
That's a good one. I think one of the most lessons, or at least something that I learned later in life, is be very directional, make sure changes, make sure I make, driving my goals. I always now tell people direction is more important than velocity, but hurrying in the wrong direction is going to get us nowhere. Being more transparent when appropriate, believe in people's performance. That's the mindset that's changing for CEOs and for myself, is getting value-added input from the staff, because they're the ones that will actually institute the change and the direction that we're trying to go.
Okay, that's a great answer. And I've heard that from a few different things too. The military too. There's like generals who've talked about how it used to be top-down orders, right? Yeah, I know best and tell everybody. But in this information age, when you have so many, particularly when you have a lot of bright people at the group working together, you definitely want to include all the value they bring and make sure everybody's together.
Yeah, this is the new generation that I need to be very less business-like, make personal connections when I round to all the locations, being visible and ask for input. That's huge, because they feel like they have a say in what needs to be done. Now, some things might work and might not, but that's why I have my C-suite to sit and take these personal connections that we have, write them down, and then we answer them back. Anytime they ask questions, we respond. And I have a thing called Dear Gregg that patients and staff can write down, and I respond to all the patients and to the employees when they have questions about certain things.
Right. Okay. Very cool. All right. Well, Gregg, if people would like to connect with you or learn more about Tri-City or yourself, what should they do?
Yeah, you can give them my email, which would be gflorentin@tricitycardiology.com.
All right. Well, that was great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening and watching. Thank you very much, Gregg Florentin, for joining me today. We appreciate you sharing your insights into cardiology and medical practices here in the Valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Inspired by our guests? Visit phoenixprosperitypodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.